Hi. Alright, so an experiential understanding of how all that is came to be examines patterns in human psychological development and in the physical world around us in search of commonalities. So it looks at evolution, it looks at the development of individuals in the womb, it looks at the development of the universe as a whole, the development of the brain in evolution and in individual human beings, and it looks for similarities here. So in order to see exactly what I mean by this, I'm going to demonstrate with psychological development of a human being. So first, there's a baby. A baby's born. In the years 0 to 7 or so, early childhood, we see that there's this I want now. There's this I-orientedness. Everything is an extension of the I. Everything's an extension of the child in the child's perception. And the child is looking out of his eyes and ears and nose and mouth at the world and sense of touch and so on. And he thinks that everyone else is seeing and hearing and tasting and smelling and touching and knowing the same things that he is. So if you hide an object from a young child, or you hide an object while the young child is watching, and you have someone who's not in the room come into the room, and you ask the child, where is this person going to look? And the child will say where it is, because the child thinks, well, I know where it is, so that person must know where it is. And then there's also the want. There's the instinctual desires aspect of early childhood. The kid feels like he needs everything. He needs it. He needs it to survive. So then here we have this self-preservation orientedness also, where we have food, temperature. All these things are important things, especially, you look at a young baby, and that's what's important. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm cold. So it's self-preservation, physically oriented things, and the want for things to be a certain way. And there's this now-orientedness. It has to be now. Now is when they need these things. Then we look at the next stage of development, and now there are projections of the I. There are others out there, but they're just projections of the I. So it's empathy, but it's the projection of the internal experiences into the people who are over there. So if you look at the experiment where a small child is looking at a mountain scene, a diorama, then you ask the child, what's the doll seeing on the other side of the scene? And the child, up till between ages 3 and 7, depending on how complex the scene is, the child will say that he sees, that the doll sees what he sees. He'll describe exactly what he's seeing. And if you ask after that critical age, again 3 to 7, depending on the complexity of the scene, then the child will start describing what the doll would be seeing over there. But there's still this projection of our feelings onto other people at that age. And this is adolescence, so we're looking to see, how do I fit into the group? So now there's this group orientedness, and there's the empathy. The feeling is, how would I feel if I were that person over there doing that? I would be angry if I were doing that. I would be self-conscious if I were in that situation. And so we expect that other people would feel the same way that we would in that situation, because just the projection of our internal feelings over there. Then you get the group orientedness, because now we're relating to the people around us in that way, in the projection of ourselves onto them. And there's looking to the past. Instead of the present, now we're looking to the past to see how we, thinking back to how we actually related to different people in that situation. So we're looking to see how we relate to them, how we relate to ourselves, and how we feel about ourselves and how we relate to them. And so identity is an issue. So while territoriality is an issue in the first stage, where do I end and other people begin? Where do I end and the world begins? Because everything is an extension of the I in the first stage. Now we have that there are others out there, and how do I relate to them? And so identity is the issue. And now we see again the group orientedness and wanting to belong to the group. Instead of self-preservation, now it's belonging, wanting to belong, inclination to belong, or fit in, or be part of the group. And then we get to the third stage. The third stage, we have thought come into the picture, because now there are other eyes out there. Those others are not just projections of us over there, projections of the eye over there, but they are actually other eyes with different internal experiences, with different thoughts, different feelings, different inclinations, different motivations. And just because you would feel a certain way in a certain situation doesn't mean that person would. And just because you would be fulfilled by certain things doesn't mean that person would. So now decision making becomes an issue, because now we have to make the best decisions for ourselves and those other eyes. And those other eyes have different things that would fulfill them. They're not necessarily the same things that would fulfill us. And so we need to consider them in our decision making. And so now there are other eyes. There's decision making as an issue instead of identity or territoriality. There is connecting with other eyes. Instead of belonging or self-preservation, now we want to connect with other individual eyes, because we recognize that they're experiencing different things. And through that connection, we can come to understand how their internal experiences relate to ours, how they're similar, how they're different. And then we can really get to know that individual other person, that individual other eye, looking out of his own eyes and ears and nose and mouth at the world, and through his own lens of thought and feeling and instinct that is different than our own. And then we also have future-orientedness, because now we're looking at the consequences of our decisions, because it's the consequences of the decisions that we're making that are going to have an effect on whether we're fulfilling other people and ourselves as well. And we are also paying attention now to thought, where we need thought, because it's not just a projection of feeling over there in that empathy kind of way, in the projection of yourself into another person's shoes physically, where it's your internal experience and their physical situation. But now it's their internal experience and their situation, and in order to figure that out, we need to be able to compare and contrast our own experiences with theirs and break down our own past experiences and figure out if I had these different motivations in these different proportions, and I prioritize this higher than this, then I would feel this, and that's why that person feels that, and I understand. And so thought is required for that. And again, thought is also required to figure out the consequences of actions.